Absolutely, I can. I think everyone
Okay.
else should be able to.
All right. So the first thing with starting a CMA, of course, is you want to get your the property address. So I already have one pulled up. The address, let me try to enlarge this. There we go. So I have a house. I actually just did a CMA here like last week on this property. Its address is, I'll just type it in here. But what the first thing I do is I go search, quick search, and then I type in the address here to the search. And it's 8010 Wenatchee Place Northwest. So then actually first, let's go to the actual subject property. Sorry. So you guys can know what property I'm talking about. It is 8010 Wenatchee. And then you can see kind of the history of the last time it sold, any kind of, oh, it tried to rent it out. So this is a 4-bed, 2.5 bath, 3,700 square foot house, built in 2005. It has not had very much success selling. The last time they tried to sell it was in 2017. It's in a cool little neighborhood. You can see the HOA dues are $23. It's on over a ½ acre as well. And I think the good thing too to do before you run a CMA is to actually see the house physically yourself so that you can kind of know what kind of upgrades there are, anything special about the house as well. So I already did that. And then, so I came back here. So 4-bed, 2.5 bath, 3,700 square feet. So then the next thing I do is I go to quick search. And then this tab right here is where I plug in the address. And you can kind of play around with how many. I like to start out with maybe 1 mile away from this address. Where'd it go? Oh, there we go. Okay. I don't know why it's not. Wenatchee Place. I don't know why that's not popping up. There we go. Okay. And then I hit active here. And then you want to do pending inspection. And I like to do 180 days out. And then pending. And then sold. And I kind of do all of those just because you want to get within like a 6-month time frame. Of course, the market changes quickly. So if we get a lot of matches here, then maybe you can kind of shorten these up. But then, okay, I only got 3 matches. So we can go even further out, maybe like, let's say 3 miles. And then you get 113 matches. So that's where I'm like, okay, well, I know that it's a big house. So I'm going to do, let's say 3+ beds. It's over 2 bath. So we don't want any 1 bath showing up on our search. So let's go 2+ bath. Now it gets down to 98 matches. So then now we can actually play around with the square footage here. And with this house, I mean, I think we could start at like 3,000 square feet, but you could always like plus or minus maybe 15 to 20%. So if it's a 2,000 square foot house, you can maybe go down to like 1,600 to 2,400, let's say. So I'm just going to go 3,000 to 4,500 and see what that pulls up. Now we have 35 matches. So let's just click on this, see what we get, see if there's anything comparable. 4.5 million. So we don't want that. So we could go back to criteria actually and kind of mess with the price. Something I should have said earlier too is kind of knowing the ballpark of the price range that we're working with. And it might sound silly, but you can actually look that up using Zillow or Redfin just to kind of give you kind of a ballpark estimate. It's definitely, and you don't have to feel ashamed. Like sometimes those are like actually pretty decent estimates. So I already did that. It said anywhere from 850 to 950. So I'm just gonna go anything 850 to, let's say 1.1 million. So 1,100. So that gets us down to 5 matches. So we're definitely narrowing the search down. That might be a little too tight, but let's see what we get. That's a good one. 5-bed, 3.5 bath. It's brand new though, so that might not be the best comp, and it's only 0.12 acre. We're dealing with a 1/2 acre. Here's another one. This one's on almost an acre and it's brand new as well. So we have some pretty good comps here. So I'm gonna go back to criteria. This isn't enough for me, so I'm gonna actually tweak this again. And I'm actually going to not do a price range. I'm gonna do 850 plus and see what that brings up. There's really no like science to it. It's really an art. So you just got to play around with it and kind of see what you're dealing with as far as what's coming up. And I actually already had some saved in my cart for this house. So I'm actually just going to save some and show you kind of how to save them into a cart. So I'm going to pick this one. It's got the same square footage. It is newer, but it's a little bit bigger lot too. So that one might be a little high. That one's waterfront. We don't want waterfront. That one's got a nice view. This one's sold, which is nice. Same with this. So then once you check the ones that you kind of want, then you go down to cart. And if you don't already have a cart set up for this person or for this comp, then you go new cart, and then you do name, contact, all that, and then you create, then you save. So I already did that. So I'm actually going to find my cart, which is right here. And I'm going to add these to it. So now we have 9 comps. All right. So once we're feeling pretty good about the comps that we have, we're going to go back up here. The other thing too that I actually did before this was this house is in a neighborhood. And so what I did was I wanted to find if any homes in this exact neighborhood sold within like the last, I did 1 year, so 380 days. And then I left it at a 1/4 mile away. And that was 8010. Gee. It pulls up. Boom, 3 matches. So let's go look. All right, so this one sold for $775 about a year ago. This one, $820 in June of last year. This one's a really good comp, and I added this to my cart, the last one here. I know where this house is. It's really close to my client's house. And so this one sold for $940 last June. So this is a super good comp. And I already added this to the cart, like I said. But that's a really good basis to kind of know, well, last June this sold and the market was kind of similar to what we're dealing with right now. It might even be a little softer in June of last year. So we could be looking even north of this one. So I already added that to the cart. So then I'm going to go to my matrix and the CMAs tab. And then you click on start a new CMA. Select contact name, which is Kim LaFontaine. Single family CMA type. Description, you can add something there if you'd like. And then you click on pages. So this page is where you kind of, if you want to send this to your client, it might be nice to add a cover page. It has cover sheet with agent photo, which is kind of nice, but comparables is kind of the main one. And there's a ton of different options here. It can kind of get a little long, so you might want to narrow these down. So let's say we don't want like minimum and maximum to show up. So we click on that, X that out. Chart days on market. I don't know if we need a chart for that. List price, I like that. Pricing recommendations, we can do that too. Portrait, no. So yeah, you can play around with that. I'll just add these two and you can kind of see what to do. But once you get kind of your pages that you would like, included in the CMA, then you can see the tab kind of highlights up here as to when you can go to the next tab. So then I'm going to click subject. I'm going to fill in the property address. Oop, not 0. There we go. Okay. Then you click fill. Error finding listing, not sure why. Why did that not come up? Oh, sorry. You have to type in subject property field. Then you can do all this. So street number, 8010, street, Wenatchee. So you can do all of this. You can even fill in all the bathrooms, the bedrooms, everything, all the kind of utilities, everything that you know about the property. It's kind of nice to have. And you can even upload a photo if you'd like, just to make your CMA look that much better. But I'm just going to do that for now. So then it has my agent info, which is kind of cool. And here is where your comparables come in. So you can either add from listings, or what I like to do is add from cart, because we already made our cart for this property. So add from cart. Why did it do that? Oh, okay. And then up here is where you click on your cart that you just made for this property. And then boom, it has all of the properties that you saved to your cart, which is really nice. You can go to adjustments next. Don't have any comparable properties for adjustments. These are properties that you might think like, oh, my house has a super nice back patio deck, so that needs to be adjusted. Different things like that. I don't necessarily mess with that, but you can. And then pricing. This is where you just put in kind of where you think the price might be, which I'll get into in a little bit, but I'm just going to kind of show you exactly kind of running through the CMA for now, and then finish. And then you can view CMA right here, or you can email the CMA to your client, which is really cool. So I'm going to click view CMA. Takes a little while to load, but it'll get there. So it was incomplete because I didn't add everything, but you guys get the gist. It is just over, it's 16 pages long, so that's not bad. You don't want to make too long of a CMA, because ultimately the client just wants to see comps and wants to see, what do you think this house is worth? So they want your opinion. So the other thing that I'm going to show you guys too is what I like to use is Cloud CMA. And it's a really nice report. You do have to pay for it. So you can try it for free or sign in. And I already have an account. And I don't know if we used to have this, but I think not a lot of people used it, which is kind of crazy to me because I really like using this. Because it makes a really nice report. So create new report. I'll just kind of show you, I haven't done one for this property yet in Cloud CMA, but it gives a really nice presentation. So you can fill out your address. And it already auto-populates. Doesn't know this though. Oop. It's over 3,700 square feet. You can add a photo here. And then right here is where you can automatically find listings near the subject property. So I always do that. And it goes back 1 year. You can tweak that if you'd like. You can do 6 months, which I'm going to do 6 months. Get at least 10 listings. And then let's fetch the listings. So right here is and this isn't perfect because it does bring up listings that are, I mean, this one's much smaller, 3-bed, 2-bath, 2,200 square feet. This one's 1.4 million, probably on the water or something. So this is where I actually do manually input some of the listings, but you can always just say no, no, no price to there. These are actually going to be low. And so there's another section where you can actually add a listing. So if you go back to your matrix and see your cart, you can manually add listings to it, which is cool. But then customize report. So it has your title page, cover letter, agent resume, something about your company, contact me. It's super cool. It's a really nice looking report. And so there's also a section, where is it, of a price recommendation. I don't actually see it, but what I was finding was the price recommendation for this was actually pretty high. So I was kind of taking that out or tweaking it a little bit. But this is Cloud CMA is awesome. All of the clients that I've sent this to are like, whoa, this is a super good looking presentation. But I'm just going to publish report. And I'll show you kind of the finished product. If it loads. Come on. There's also home beat, there's flyers, there's buyer tours. I mean, this Cloud CMA is really cool. I don't know why it's not loading, but anyways, you guys kind of get the gist. Let me try to move this. So back to kind of figuring out, okay, your client wants to know exactly how much the property is worth. And that's really where I just kind of say, I look at my cart that I already made. So I do my quick search. I tweak with this within a mile is where I kind of like to be. But if I'm not seeing anything come up, maybe it's a unique property. So you could even just kind of single it down to one area or a full area. This one's in Silverdale. So you could even just pick all of Silverdale. If it's in a neighborhood though, and it's kind of like a cookie cutter home, you should find a lot of good comps. This one's on the bigger side for Silverdale, 3,800 square feet. I've seen the neighborhood already. It's in a really nice neighborhood. So I didn't get like a ton of really good comps for this house, but like I said, when I found that listing that was sold in the same neighborhood last June, that gave me a good feeling as to where we're going to end up on price. And I went and toured the property. That's super important. Let's see. I'm going to look through this actually. So with this, I mean, this one's 950. My house is very similar to this. I don't know why I can't click through. Here we go. My house is like really, really similar. My backyard is a lot better. This one's a little more outdated. So my client did a good job with his house, really immaculate landscaping and everything. I think it's going to sell super quick. The last thing I do, I will say, because the market is, the inventory is so low that I'm going to go look at all the active homes within 5 miles of this house. Because when you're a buyer, you're not specifically necessarily looking within 1 mile of a certain area. You're looking at square footage. You're looking at pretty much an overall location. And so let me type in, see what active comparable or actually competition we're going to be dealing with here. And so these are all the actives, 63 matches within 5 miles, but we're in a different price range. So I'm going to just do 850 plus. Get 13 matches within 5 miles of my house in that 850 plus. You could even put in baths and square footage. I think we'll put in 3,000 plus square feet. Now we get 6 matches. So we're dealing with 6 other homes. This one's not even a comp. It's 4.5 million. these other ones are, I mean, that 950, 975. Then you get up there 1.3. That's probably not in our price range. 4.5 again. So there's not much out there. And so with that being said, I think that this house is going to, it's going to sell quick and it's going to be a hot commodity. So I told him, I already talked with my seller and I said, I think that we could get 950 for your house at least. I'm very comfortable at that price. So he wanted to get closer to $1 million. And I said, well, that one house already sold in your neighborhood a year ago and it sold for 940 and that was about a year ago. So let's do 975. And that's where we kind of landed with the price of this home. Like I said, it's not, I mean, it's not a science, it's definitely an art. So the more you do it and the more you talk with clients, the more you kind of understand how to price a home. But I hope that gave you guys kind of a good, kind of what I do. I really recommend the Cloud CMA. If you guys can do the Cloud CMA, it's still not loaded, which is not good, but that's what I send to all my clients and they all really like it. It looks really professional and it gives even a price strategy in there, your resume, everything. So that's how I do my CMAs. Anyone have any questions or anything? I think we can open it up to that.
I have a question.
Okay. Oh, Isaac,
Yes,
what's up?
this was really fantastic. Slightly boring, but I enjoyed it.
Perfect.
Uh,
Thank you. What would you expect any different?
no. How do you, if you find a comp that's like perfect in every way except for, let's say, your home that you're selling, you know, doesn't have a 3-car detached garage, or your doesn't have a view, but this comp has like a pretty good view, but it's like really comparable in every other way. Like we all know that view homes really shouldn't be compared to non-view homes, but like,
to be honest, I mean, just going off the view aspect, I mean, a view to in Gig Harbor is probably like $150,000 difference between no view. So if it's identical home, which is, of course, it's not going to be, but it does have a view and yours does not, I would say it's probably, I mean, conservatively 150,000 less than a home with a view.
And where did you come up with that number?
I've been told, well, we've had appraisals on our house done, and an appraiser kind of let me know that they actually do like 100,000, I believe is what he said. But I know that view homes sell much quicker. And so, I mean, like I said before, it's not a science, it's definitely an art. So it's not always going to be like an exact amount, like, okay, you can deduct 150 because we're not appraisers, but we try to be with our comps. But that's just kind of something that I've done in the past, and it's worked out.
No, I agree with that number. I mean, I've been told something similar. I've been told like a peekaboo, but like you can see the water, but you know, just from the master bed or the primary bedroom. That's like maybe worth 50, and then like a good view, but still not like great. Like you're still a bunch of houses back, but it has a good view, is worth 100, and then a really nice view is worth 150. I think that's right. I'm just saying that's something I've heard.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's a good, I mean, that's something good to go off of too. But I guess the other thing too is, I mean, and me and Isaac always do this too, is to get a second opinion with the comp or with running a CMA. Because it can be tough to, and you got to be pretty confident when you go to your seller to be like, okay, this is where I think your property lands. So if you have a second opinion with someone in the office or another agent you trust, that gives you even more confidence. And you're like, oh shit, I'm not like crazy for thinking that this house is worth this. Or maybe you missed something and the agent that you asked for the second opinion is like, no, man, yours does have this view, or it has a unique amenity, something like that. So that's always good to do too. Check with other agents.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Like, I mean, Craig and I and Kyle and TJ, we'll oftentimes call each other and say, hey, like, I'm struggling with this. What do you think of this?
Yeah.
And just get a second opinion. If anything, like it just helps to know that we're in the ballpark, because if you should be really concerned if, you know, you call up another agent and you think it's worth 700 and they're like, oh yeah, probably like 825, 850. That's where you should be like, they could be wrong, but you should probably pause and say, okay,
Yeah.
one of us is very, very wrong. So
Yeah.
we should figure that out. That's like the mean, like if we're off by 25, it's like, cool, that's close enough. But yeah, the big differences, that's where you should be worried, because if you're missing something and your client, you know, like for me, it's like, if it's an area I don't know very well, let's use Tacoma, for example. If somebody doesn't know Tacoma well, and they're comparing homes on the other side of 6th Ave or Division, the north end versus the south end, even though it's one block between them, it's a huge difference, like 15-20% difference in price. And so if you made that mistake because you know an area, you're not going to get that listing.
Yeah.
Like, no way.
Yeah. And to be honest, most sellers, they are attached to their house, so they do think their house is worth more. So I was actually going to ask you a question. So what do you do in that case? I mean, most sellers are like, oh, well, let's try to list it a little higher. And to be honest, like a year ago, that was a good, I mean, you could, because the house is probably going to sell. But now the market's changing. It's still super low inventory, which is good for sellers, but buyers aren't necessarily willing to pay crazy amounts, because each 10,000 they go up makes a big difference on their mortgage. So what do you tell a seller that's like, oh, I think it's worth, instead of 950, 1 million?
Yeah, so I start by asking them to explain why. Like, so if I'm looking at, you know, this home and I think it's worth 950 and they want to list at 150, I say, okay, so where did you come up with that number? To find out if it's completely, if it's completely emotional or something silly, maybe you can debunk it really quick. But if they say, well, this home sold for $1,050,000, that's great. That's like, I want them to tell me that. So now I can say, okay, let's look at this home. And let's compare apples to apples and say, look, like my job is like, to help you make the best decision. So can I have your I say, can I have your permission to be candid with you? And they always say yes. No one's going to say no, sugarcoat it. They're going to say, yeah, be candid. And I say, okay, so as a broker who works with a lot of buyers, here's what a buyer is going to like about this home over your home. And I'm going to point out things. I'm going to say, so can you see how those 5 things that we just talked about could increase the value by $100,000? And normally you're able to get them to understand that and at least get them closer to the target price. From there, let's say they're really set on listing at $1 million. You really think it's worth 950. Then I say, look, I'm okay. There's enough nuance in valuing a property that I'm okay, you know, saying like, yeah, I don't know for sure that it's worth 950. It might be worth $1 million. You might be right. Let's talk about what worth is. Worth is determined by what someone will pay for it. That's all value is, right?
Yeah.
When I'm telling you what I think the value is, I am speculating what someone will pay for your home. Point being, I could totally be wrong. Somebody could fall in love with your home and pay $1 million. So yes, we can list at $1 million. That's fine. But I'm going to ask just one commitment from you if we do that. And I'm not going to make you sign anything that says this. But Kyle, if I'm going to list your home for $1 million and it doesn't sell for $1 million, we're going to have a conversation in 10 days about a price adjustment. And we're going to drop the price. And we're going to drop the price until we get to 950 and then see where we're at. And mainly I'm just asking for you to commit that you're not going to fire me because it doesn't sell at $1 million.
Yeah. Because
I'm going to do my best. I hope I'm wrong. I'm very candid about how I get paid with my sellers. I say, like, I hope I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, I make 2.5% of 50,000 on top of what I was already going to make. Right?
Yeah.
Like, I want to be wrong. I want you to prove me wrong.
Yeah.
But if I'm right, I don't want you to be mad at me that it doesn't sell for $1 million. So can we be on the same page about that? And I get them to verbally commit to that. And I don't even think anything could be you can put that in writing. But normally if you do that and then we have a price adjustment conversation in 10 days, I don't have to have a conversation about having a conversation. I've already told them that we're going to have that conversation. Now, if they're like way high, that's where you should really consider not taking the listing, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And most people are, I mean, they're reasonable. There are a few that are not, but yeah, with that conversation, I feel like they'll respect that too.
Yeah.
Because you kind of laid it all out on the line. You want them to make the most money, of course. but this is where you think their house is valued at.
Yeah, and try not to say you're wrong. Try to show them
Yeah.
wrong. Try and say like, oh, well, I think, because mine has a view and that comp doesn't have a view, mine's worth this versus this. Well, show them other homes with a view, like show them how view does affect the value and how while it affects the value, it doesn't affect it by $500,000, it affects it by $100,000. So try and show them the evidence. Don't just say, oh, you're wrong.
I have like a general question
Let's hear it.
for everyone. Like Kyle uses Cloud CMA. Does anyone else use anything else other than the NWMLS?
I use Cloud CMA also. I pay for it. It's the best that I've seen. It looks so nice. The reports that you give, and I don't even use it like just when I have a listing appointment. I use it for buyer appointments. I use it for I will give unsolicited CMAs to clients once a year on their anniversary. And so I use it all the time. It's very easy to justify however much I spend. It's like $25, I think, a month. And it's just a really nice report. And the one on the MLS, I think the report is really boring, personally. Sorry.
Do you use anything else? Like Kyle was mentioning some of the other features and stuff that he uses on there. Do you use any of the other stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they're buyer presentations where you can you have a list of homes that they want to see. You can put that list into Cloud CMA and do like kind of like what you can do with Showing Time, where you do a map, but then you can print out a nice report and like give it to them at the first home and say, here's the 5 homes we're going to see, and it shows like it shows like almost like a presentation for each one. It's like, here are the schools nearby and everything, and it just does that all for you. You don't have to. You just literally take the 5 MLS numbers that you're going to show them and just print that out. It also lets you send it digitally, which is super sick. So you can send them like, hey, here's our showings for the day. Click on this link, and it will say, okay, first one's this. They click on it, takes them to the map, and they can like look at it while they're there, and it just has like the whole setup. And it's
Cloud CMA is fantastic. It is freaking amazing. We just didn't have enough agents using it to keep it for the brokerage. But it is amazing.
Yeah.
Cool.
Is
Might
that
look in.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just saying, I might look into that.
Yeah,
For
I
the
would.
other specifically.
Kim, do you use Cloud CMA?
Not at the moment because I am too busy being a DB at the moment. But when my business picks up again, yes, I'll get my own subscription. It's worth it. It's totally worth it. It's one of the things I absolutely paid for when I'm busy with deals. Because for buyers, I use it for buyer packets, listing packets. It's really cool. And I think they have a demo. I think you can do a trial version with them and try it out.
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, are we good calling it, Rachel, Kim?